And please welcome your host of Strange Oddities Podcast, Matthew J. Haas.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Strange Oddities Podcast. I am your co-host. Well, I'm your host. I'm your host, Matthew J. Haas. I'm excited to be here with a fun topic for tonight's show. I hope everybody really has a lot of fun with tonight's topic. I think it's going to be fun. A lot of us paranormal enthusiasts love watching paranormal movies or movies about ghosts. And I'm excited about this because some of these movies have some really, interesting theories in them. So, we have classic movies like The Haunting from 1963, where a bunch of parapsychologists. Okay, it's back. Hey, how you doing? I have my moderator, my wife, in the chat room, letting me know how things are going. She'll be in there to take questions, let me know what's going on, if the sound and video is okay. And I was telling me that it may experience some buffering, hopefully not. Guys, let me know how the audio is, if it's bad, good, video, bad, good, let me know. Can't exactly watch myself live. That's why my wife is there in the chat room. We do have a chat room. If you guys don't know about it, please visit my YouTube channel, The Strange Oddities Podcast on YouTube. We also have a Facebook page. You guys can keep up with current events and topics on our Facebook page. I'll make announcements there, such as tonight's topic about theories of ghosts in Hollywood movies, which is tonight. And YouTube's now telling me I have an excellent connection. Great. It's kind of going on and off, so I don't know. I'm gonna go with it anyway. All right. All right. So theories of ghosts in Hollywood movies. So we have the classic 1963, The Haunting, which a bunch of doctors and parapsychologists or psychologists that were doing a sleep study in a alleged haunted location. I'm not sure if they were aware it was haunted or not. I think they knew about its reputation, but they started experiencing a whole bunch of bad things while doing their sleep study. There's actually a remake of it with Liam Neeson. My wife likes that version. I like the older version better. I'm always prone to the black and white movies when it comes to stuff like that. So that was a great movie. We have other classics like Ghostbusters, which inspired a lot of paranormal enthusiasts with their gadgets and paranormal equipment in the paranormal community and field that use a whole bunch of interesting gadgets to try to, come up with explanation for paranormal phenomena. We have other movies, classics like The Shining, with Jack Nicholson, which the great horror author Stephen King wrote. A pretty interesting book about a haunting in a hotel where he supposedly stayed. It was based off of a hotel in Colorado, which we all know. Estes Park, I believe, is the name of it, if I have it correctly. The Stanley Hotel was the actual name of the hotel based off of the book by Stephen King. The Shining was a great movie. The haunting in the movie itself, it was a stretch. I mean, it was a horror movie. It was Hollywood. But is it possible for somebody, to experience, if they're like in a place like that all by themselves for a long time in isolation, or, all right. So, got my messenger here going on. Vibrate my phone so it doesn't disturb my guests. Hey, what's up, Lourdes? We have Lourdes in the chat room. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. So yeah, we have theories of ghost theories in Hollywood movies. Did they have it right? I mentioned The Haunting, 1963 classic. There's a remake with Liam Neeson. My wife is a big fan of it. We had Ghostbusters with, of course, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray. What's up, Ron? Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and thank you for sharing my podcast, by the way. I appreciate that much kindly. Hope everybody's hanging in there. I know I'm having some ghost hunting withdrawals myself. So, I hope my introduction is played. Let me know if it did or it didn't. If it was accurate, if it was, let me know how my intro was. Either way, I'd appreciate it. You guys can email me at strangeodditiespodcast@gmail.com. You guys can send me feedback there if you're not comfortable, joining in the live chat or commenting here on the YouTube channel. All right. So, anyway, I have a list of movies here. We have another great movie, The Sixth Sense, with Bruce Willis, and it was about a little kid that had the sixth sense. He was psychic, and he experienced the dead. And it had a great twist to it. It was written and produced by M. Night Shyamalan, which was, a really great producer, and it played fine. All right, thanks, baby. Again, my wife is moderating in the chat room. Appreciate you helping me out. So with Bruce Willis and I forget the little kid's name, the actor that played the kid that had psychic abilities in the movie, but he would actually be hanging around his, I think, so-called therapist or psychologist that kind of was helping him throughout the movie. And what was interesting about the movie and how it was done is you didn't know that the therapist or psychologist was actually dead until later on in the movie. If you figured it out on your own, there were some clues and stuff that I didn't know about till later on in the movie, but it was pretty crazy to think that the guy was dead the whole time, and this kid was talking to this guy like as if he was a real person. So there's quite a few movies like that that's out there. Another great movie with Nicole Kidman, which is The Others, which is about a mother and her children in this really old place, old house or old mansion, and they acted as if these people that were around them were real. They were afraid to go outside. They were afraid to open the windows for some reason. There were a lot of little clues that were in the movie that said, something was up, and they weren't quite, they were afraid of the light. They had to have the windows shut. I'm not quite sure what that reason was. It's been a while since I've seen the movie The Others, but that's another classic, movies with ghosts in them, but a little bit of a twist because, they made you think that the ghosts were actually real people because of how they interacted with the people around them and then around their environment. So I think that's a really great way of, kind of explaining things, how things could possibly work in the paranormal community, or in theories or in ideas and stuff like that. So, some of these Hollywood movies, were they crazy? Were they a little stretched? Were they a little reaching? Sure, absolutely. It's Hollywood, they got to make money. But I think, their ideas are not too far-fetched. It's some of the theories that they have in the movies, I think we use ourselves in the paranormal community. So, when it comes to, residual, when it comes to, really scary hauntings and poltergeists, another classic movie, Poltergeist. A real poltergeist haunting is not little Carol Ann sitting in front of a TV getting sucked into a television. That's not a real poltergeist haunting. That actual, what that movie was based off of was a real haunting here on Long Island in Seaford. There was a house in Seaford, and they called it, I think, the Popping Ghost or something to that effect. That actually inspired the making of the movie Poltergeist, with Craig T. Nelson and a bunch of other good actors in that movie. But I mean, it does dwell a little bit around an interesting theory that um, where a ghost can or spirit attach itself to an individual and create havoc around only that individual and where that individual lives. One of those part of that theory is also where it's about an adolescent child who is growing up with a lot of traumatic stress in their life, and that's why the spirit is attached to them because of what they're growing up with in their life as far as stress and all that stuff. Um, so guys, if you have a favorite movie with a really great ghost theory or idea of a ghost or a haunting in Hollywood movies, that's what we're talking about. If you want to throw it in the chat room, feel free. Guys, subscribe to my channel. There's a little bell at the top right on my YouTube channel. Click on it. You can download the YouTube app. I believe there's a couple of ways that you can interact in the chat, in the live chat. It's right there when you click on the live feed, and it's pretty self-explanatory. It's not really hard to use. So I've had quite a few people come in and out of the chat room, and they haven't really said there was any difficulty of using it. So it's not much. It's not fancy, but it's there. It works. All right. We have all right, talked about The Sixth Sense. I talked about The Others with Nicole Kidman. Another classic movie is Ghost with Patrick Swayze, the late Patrick Swayze. Really sad that he died really young. He was a great actor. Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze, Whoopi Goldberg was in the movie Ghost. I'm a big fan of Ghost. I like Ghost a lot because of how gently it put the theory and idea of what a ghost could be. He was stuck. The Changeling was great. Yeah, that was a good movie. So in Ghost, he was murdered. He was set up to be murdered, and if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's a great movie. And he had a relationship, and they were married, and he got murdered, and he didn't go to heaven, he didn't go to hell. He ended up stuck on Earth, like he ended up, still being as if he was alive. So, Rita Miller, yeah, with a $1 million check to charity, right? Yeah. So, and of course, the part, if you think about it, I know it's perverted, but near the end where Whoopi Goldberg is a psychic, and she actually jumps into he jumps into her body, like they would in the paranormal community, we call it channeling, where you channel a spirit and the spirit supposedly jumps inside a person's body and uses them to communicate vocally through them. They did that in the movie Ghost quite a few times. Once in her little psychic dungeon there, or where she did her psychic readings, or wherever she did that. When she started picking up on real spirits, she was a fake before that, but all of a sudden she started tuning in as soon as she met Patrick Swayze's ghost, and all of a sudden all these ghosts started appearing everywhere, and she was communicating with them, and they wanted to jump in and out of her body. It was pretty funny. But toward the end of the movie, Patrick Swayze's ghost jumps in her body so he can feel touch his wife one last time before he crosses over to the other side, kind of thing, and they kiss. So in a way, it's kind of funny that Whoopi Goldberg kisses Demi Moore. They don't actually show it, but you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of funny. Anyway, that's a great movie. When he was murdered, he discovered who murdered him, and he kind of did his own investigative work or detective work on who murdered him. He found out it was his best friend, set him up over money, and when he found out who killed him, who actually, killed him physically, and plus found out, who set him up, these shadow figures or demonic shadow figures came up from the ground and took their bodies when they died, and you know they went somewhere bad. So these demons or creatures took their soul, and their soul left their body, but their spirit was left there. But then they grabbed their spirit, took them with them. So it was kind of neat how they did it. I don't know. I like the movie Ghost a lot. If you haven't seen it, I would go check it out. It was really good. So Ron and Lourdes say that my friend and stand-up comedian Rod Reyes is the younger brother of the guy who played Swayze's killer with Lopez, actor and comedian Rick Avelez. That's pretty cool. Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, going on to my list. So I talked about Ghost. I talked about The Sixth Sense. I talked about The Shining. I talked about The Haunting. Let's see, what else am I leaving out? We have The Entity. If everybody remembers the movie The Entity, I don't remember the actors that were in it, but it was in the early 80s, I believe it came out. It was based off of a widely recognized case in California because the widely recognized parapsychologist Dr. Barry Taff was a science advisor on the film set of the movie The Entity, because that's what it was based off of. The Entity was a great movie. How it attacked her, and it was attached to this one person, and it physically attacked her, would hurt her, and actually almost ended up raping her. There was a lot of bad stuff that happened to this woman, and I don't know, one of the theories of Dr. Barry Taff was that it was a lot of suppressed feelings from an abusive past, of past relationships that were manifesting, and they did a whole bunch of experiments in the movie. They did a sleep study on her and everything, and then they actually created the haunting in another location because it was surrounding her and her only, and it was attached to her. That was a great flick. You guys should really look at that. The Entity, which is a really good possibility of true haunting around an individual. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it has, an attachment or a poltergeist type haunting has to be around, a child or an adolescent. I think it could be around an individual around any age. I think if they have suppressed enough feeling of something really traumatic that happened to them throughout their life that made that much of an impact on them, I think it's possible that at any age you can manifest those feelings into something, and all that energy from that you've held in can wreak havoc all around you in different ways. So that's one of the ideas about that. All right. Am I missing any movies, guys, that you can think of that, I have a short list here that I just wanted to jumpstart the conversation with. I think I have a really good list to start with, to start the conversation. Did Hollywood movies have the right idea of, a theory about a ghost or a haunting? You had a whole bunch of slew of other movies, modern day movies such as Insidious. You had Paranormal Activity, which was a whole slew of Paranormal Activity movies. Now, of course, those movies were a lot embellished as far as Hollywood goes. There was a dark story to it, about a satanic cult that raised these kids, and they wanted the kids back in the cult or wanted to sacrifice them or some crap like that. If I remember the storyline correctly. It was a little dark, but my wife and I went and saw Paranormal Activity in the movies it was like reviewing, honestly. Like, I can't watch a paranormal movie for some reason because it just reminds me of me sitting at my laptop reviewing evidence. It's like it has to be a really good movie. Um, Another really great movie is The Conjuring. There's more than one. It's based off of the Perron family in Rhode Island, and those movies are really big because it was based off of the work of the Warrens when they helped the Perron family. Um, my paranormal team, Island Paranormal Society, are actually really excited to be investigating the actual house, the real house where the activity took place in Rhode Island. Hopefully when things go back to normal after the pandemic kind of, lets everybody have some kind of normalcy, that we don't cancel the investigation. Um, yeah, we hope to be investigating the Conjuring house. It's actually called the Harrisville Farmhouse. They are accepting and booking investigations if you're interested. They do have a website, so I believe it's called the Farmhouse on Round Top Road. If you just Google that, I'll throw the link in the chat group at some point during the show. You guys can, check it out for yourselves. It's pretty cool. Do I think the house is still haunted? I don't know. I know a lot of paranormal TV shows have been there after, years after. A lot of people have done research saying, a lot of it's been kind of embellished a lot. A lot of what happened there happened around the Perron family. What people don't understand about, the Conjuring house is that there was an attachment on the family. It was an attachment on the mother. And the things that happened to them happened to them. Did the land fuel it? Did it come from the area? It's a very possibility. And, it attached to them, and anyway, it's just, that's what people need to understand, is that it happened to them, and, is there some residual things that still happen at the house? Who knows? I'm hoping that we run into some good activity when we do go. I'm not going to say there is or there isn't. So Ron and Lourdes is saying in the chat room that regarding the actor in Ghost, Rod Reyes is a great guy. I believe Rick Avalez died of AIDS years ago. Really? Oh, wow. That's crazy. Small world. I didn't know that. You guys should have brought that up a while back. That's pretty cool. Thanks, Ron and Lourdes, for mentioning that. So far, out of the list of movies, guys, that are in the chat room, Ron, Lourdes, so my wife, if you're still listening, guys, what do you think? What movie out of this list do you guys think portrayed a really good idea of a haunting or a ghost? Out of the list of movies that I mentioned, I had mentioned The Haunting, the original in 1963. Where a bunch of psychologists did a sleep study at a alleged haunted location. The remake has Liam Neeson in it. I brought up The Shining, which is based off of the Stanley Hotel. I brought up The Sixth Sense, The Others with Nicole Kidman, Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, and Ghost. I mentioned The Entity. I mentioned Poltergeist. Another big one is the Amityville Horror. That's another big one. I think the Hollywood movies, like, crazy embellished what happened there. Again, same thing at the Amityville Horror House. I have hands down information from the stepson that actually lived in the home during the hauntings at Amityville Horror House. Chris Quarantino, aka Christopher Lutz, who we got to know because I introduced him at his first ever Long Island Paranormal Conference a few years ago, which I had the privilege and honor of doing. So we really learned, a lot about the Amityville Horror House, and again, in a lot like what happened at the Perron family house in Rhode Island, it was something that attached to the family because of what the father was into. He was into some bad stuff, and because of that, that's what happened at the house. Now, that's why years after, nothing has ever happened in the house, and maybe psychics and some people are picking up on some residual things there, but other than that, that's why the house has been pretty quiet since they have left, because that stuff happened around the family. It was an attachment on the family. That's what people don't understand. They're like, oh, well, it's not haunted because the new owners there don't ever complain about anything. That's not true. It's what happened around the family. That's just me. So, trying to think of other movies. Another really classic movie with Richard Dreyfuss. I don't know if anybody has seen this one. White Noise with Michael Keaton. That's another one I missed on my list. That's a good one, guys. I really love that movie. That was a good pick. Frequency. With Dennis Quaid was more about time travel. I think. I don't think that was more about a ghost per se. I think that was more about like time travel kind of thing. So, which I don't know. It's kind of controversial as far as that goes. As far as if it was more like paranormal or if it was more of a time travel thing. But I think it was more of a time travel thing. The movie Frequency. That's one of my favorite movies. I love Frequency. I'm sure Ron would like that movie a lot because they dwell into the communication of old radios and stuff. Michael Keaton and White Noise, which really inspired a lot of new ITC researchers and investigators that do a lot of ITC experiments and stuff. Really inspired the new wave of ITC and the way they do ITC, which stands for instrumental communication, instrumental transcommunication, which is just basically a form of doing EVP, electronic voice phenomena, or doing ITC through video, trying to communicate in different radio frequencies through different devices that transmit different ranges of frequencies. So, and they said I am correct about the time travel part. Yes, but we kind of tie that into the paranormal with the direction. But yeah, you're correct. Yep. The Sixth Sense was great. Like I said, that one really fooled me until later on in the movie. There were quite a few others that were really good that were like that. I'm trying to think if there was anything else by M. Night Shyamalan that was similar. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Damn. Alright, so, there was another movie, my wife would remember the name of it, that my mother-in-law really, really loved. Had the blonde actress in it. Josie, if you're still moderating, if you remember the name of it, throw it in the chat group real quick for me. It was the one that your mother loved watching a lot. It was based on a very religious family, and they had a lot of, dark and poltergeist stuff happening in their home, and it was basically attacking mostly the females of the family, the mother and her mother. I believe it was the grandparents and the parents that lived there together. They moved in together. They shared an attached house or something. And what was really great about that movie is that it didn't necessarily attach to that person, but it went on to other members of the family, such as her mother, and it didn't just stay at the house. It followed them everywhere they went, and they couldn't get away from it. I'm not sure how many years the haunting went on for the family, but that was another great movie. I can't remember the name of it. The Haunted with... Yeah, it was about a family in PA. It was called The Haunted. I don't remember what year. Do you remember what year that came out? If you can remember what year and post that in there, that'd be great. That was another great movie, The Haunted. Yeah, there was a lot of other great movies too, but they were all like Hollywood embellished. Such as House on the Haunted Hill. There's a new TV series. I think that is also based on the same location. Netflix. My wife and I watched that. That was a really great TV series. Can't wait for the second season to come out. House on the Haunted Hill. Um, there was another one with Vincent Price. Again, there's so many. I get so many mixed up with the titles and everything. But Vincent Price was a great actor for his time. He played in a lot of great paranormal movies, black and white, of course. Yeah, Wilkes-Barre, PA. Yep. Thank you, baby. Appreciate that for the information. So if you guys are missing out. If you're listening or watching, there's a chat group next to the live video feed. If you want to participate or ask questions, you guys can post it in the live chat. So, you guys want to email me? It's strangeodditiespodcast@gmail.com. Just want to take a time out here from the topic. Strange Oddities Podcast is about a variety of subjects, stuff that I'm very passionate about other than ghosts. I started this because I'm really into other things such as cryptozoology, UFOlogy, extraterrestrials. I'm into science. I'm into mystery. I'm into, conspiracy theories, stuff like that. I wanted to do a podcast that focused on a bunch of subjects and topics other than just ghosts. I'm really into ghosts and the paranormal. I'm an investigator. I'm a researcher, ghost hunter, whatever you want to call it. But it gets old after a while, and I wanted to find my passion in podcasting again. So I thought of the Strange Oddities Podcast, which is going to cover a whole bunch of subjects. I will have guests from time to time. I will be able to have Skype capabilities with my guests. So if you're interested in being a guest on my show, please email me at strangeodditiespodcast@gmail.com. All right, that's the way you can contact me. You can also try to message me on Facebook. Look us up on Facebook, Strange Oddities Podcast on Facebook. You can also get me through that way. All right. So the one I was just talking about, one of the movies that my wife and I were bringing up a couple minutes ago, The Haunted. It was based between the year of The haunting took place between 1974 and 1989. That's when the actual haunting occurred. And yeah, it followed them to different homes. So it was a haunting that was attached to the family. It wasn't so much because of the house. It attached itself to the family. And there's more than one movie that attaches itself to the family. So, moving right along. The new Ghostbusters movies, I think, are terrible. There's nothing like the originals. I love the originals with Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. I don't think they'll be the same again if they make any new ones. I know there's a trailer out for a new one, I think, which is allegedly a sequel to the original first two. I'm not sure who's going to be in it. I've heard rumors that the original cast will be in it. Except for obviously Harold Ramis, who passed away, I think, a couple of years ago, will not be in it, so he will not be reprising his role. So, that movie, The Haunted, was released in 1991. Thank you for that information. I appreciate it. Alright. So, guys, theories of ghosts in Hollywood movies. There's a slew of movies with ghosts in them. Another great movie I like a lot There's a couple of them actually. I like The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox. Did anybody see The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox? That was a great movie. Interesting theory on how they came about in that movie. Another one is, I'm trying to think. The other one that I like, 13 Ghosts. They lived in a house that was made of like a lot of glass. They couldn't pass through the glass for some reason. The way the house was set up, in order for them to get through certain things, they had to do certain things with the ghosts. 13 Ghosts. They had to wear these special glasses in order to see the ghosts. That was really cool. I like that movie a lot. Trying to think of some other classic movies off the top of my head. All right, I'm gonna dwell into my notes here. All right, so dwelling into my notes. Oh, I remember. I lost track of one that I was gonna mention earlier. Did anybody see the movie Always with Richard Dreyfuss, who is another great actor, one of my favorite actors? Always was about a pilot that died, and he was in a relationship, and he came back as a ghost, and he realized he was dead at first. And John Goodman was in it. I believe Holly Hunter was the wife or the girlfriend, and I'm not sure if they ever married or not, but I think they pretty much had a marriage kind of relationship. But he would try to help everybody in that movie as a ghost. That was a great movie with Richard Dreyfuss. It was called Always. That was a very good movie. Yep. Ron and Lourdes is saying 13 Ghosts is a really good movie. Yep. I love 13 Ghosts. Okay, going back into my notes. Got my phone out here. House on the Haunted Hill had the original Vincent Price. Yep. Here we go. So, the House on Haunted Hill was in 1959. Rich Oddball, Frederick Lauren, Vincent Price has a proposal for 5 guests at a possibly haunted mansion. Show up, survive a night filled with scares, and receive $10,000 each. The guest of honor is Lauren's estranged wife, Annabelle, not to be confused with doll Annabelle. Another great movie, by the way, which is a spinoff off of The Conjuring, Annabelle. We can talk about that after I get into this a little bit. So Carol Omar, who, with her secret lover, Dr. Trent Allen Marshall, has concocted her own scheme to scare Lauren's associate, Nora Manning, who was played by Caroline Craig, into shooting the potentially crazy millionaire, but more spooks and shocks throw a wrench into the plan. There was a remake of House on the Haunted Hill in 1999, which was a great movie for a remake. I like House on the Haunted Hill, which is another great one. My wife is saying in the chat group, along with Ronald Lourdes, is saying The Exorcist. The Exorcist is a really freaky movie, especially when the head twists around and when she vomits. That was a great movie. I don't know how accurate that is into demonic possession, but there's some pretty scary theories about demonic possession and how that goes. So, is that too far from that theory of demonic possession? It's something that does happen rarely, but again, Hollywood likes to think it happens all the time. My wife is naming all the scary movies, such as Rosemary's Baby. That movie creeps me out. Also, Damien. That's another one of my my wife's favorite movies is Damien or The Omen. I know Ron Iacovetti likes The Omen. House in the Haunted Hill. Yes, the one with Vincent Price, not the 1999 version. Both were good. But I'm prone to the original black and white scary flicks. So, Rosemary Baby. Yep, a lot of really good movies with theories of ghosts or demonic hauntings. So yeah, Annabelle. What do you guys think about Annabelle, the doll, the famous doll in the Warrens Museum? It was not really that scary looking in the movie. It's more looking like a Raggedy Ann doll in real life. They're saying that there's alleged demonic attachment to the doll, and it's not nice. And they have it, they have to bind it and keep it somewhere safe away from people, because anybody who touches it has really bad experiences. I know Ron and Lourdes have actually, I think, seen the doll in person. I think they went there. And I think Tony Spur is the now keeper of the doll, keeping it somewhere. I'm sure they can shed some more information on that. I know, I think last year or the year before, they visited Tony Spur, and they had the opportunity to check out Annabelle, the real doll. Then you had Robert the doll. Ozzy Osbourne was afraid of Robert the doll in Jack Osbourne and Ozzy Osbourne's TV show. That was a funny show. I love the Osbournes. It's so funny. He would never touch that doll. Come on, it's tempting. You gotta admit, it's tempting. I know Zach Bagans on Ghost Adventures wanted to touch that doll. I think he did a little bit, and they weren't too happy that he did. I think there's that one rule: you're allowed to come and see it, but you're not allowed to touch it. Because if you don't have the found respect for whatever's attached to that thing, some bad stuff can happen to you. So, all right. So the topic of tonight's show, if you guys are tuning in late, no worries. You guys can always catch the instant replay of the podcast. Just visit my YouTube channel, Strange Oddities Podcast on YouTube. You guys can catch the show anytime if you miss it. If you don't get it live, no worries. And looks like my video is going a little haywire here. I don't know why it's doing that. See what's going on. I don't know, on YouTube it's I look like I'm pixelated a little bit, so hopefully you guys didn't lose me here. So did Hollywood movies have the idea right? Yeah, I'm having serious technical issues. Yeah, it looks like it's clearing up. So sorry about that, guys. Out of my control. All of a sudden, it just started to get all choppy on me. I don't know why. It was going great throughout the whole show until now. As soon as I started talking about Annabelle the doll. Yeah, no, I'm seeing the same thing, guys. Yeah, I know about the the pixelization. I don't know what's going on. It looked like it cleared up a little bit. It could be because of the yeah, exactly. Yeah, Ron's messaging me that how ironic that it got all buggy when we started to talk about that particular topic, and here we go, and look, it's happening again. So that's freaking crazy. I don't know. You know what? That could be a coincidence. That's pretty funny. Is that coincidental? I don't know. I'm nowhere near it, so I don't know how that's possible. Maybe it's using some kind of psychic ability on us. I don't know. Who knows? But that's pretty funny. It's ironic that just happened right around that time. That's great you brought that up, Ron. That's funny. Wow. All right. So hopefully no more technical issues. I'm gonna move on to another movie. Um, I'm gonna go to my list here. Hopefully it'll clear up. Yeah, I think it's clearing up a little bit. All right. How about, it's another great movie, guys, with Michael Keaton that I forgot to mention is Beetlejuice. How many of you guys love Beetlejuice? I know I like Michael Keaton a lot, and Beetlejuice was great. Um, I kind of like those type of movies where, ghosts that don't realize that they're dead and they try to do things to scare people out of their house, kind of thing, because they don't like those people there. So they try to drum up and create a haunting, but they don't know quite how to do it, so they had to get help, from the in between, I guess. I'm not quite sure where that was supposed to be taking place, as far as where they got their help, the Book of the Dead or whatever. But Beetlejuice was a great movie. I heard rumors that they are supposed to come out with a sequel, this many years later. But we'll see what happens. So, Beetlejuice was a great movie. So, yeah, it cleared up some, Ron. On my end, it did. So, hopefully on your end, it'll clear up better. So, I'm not going to mention that you-know-what anymore. All right. Yeah, the Haunting, like I said, the original Haunting was great. It was about, here, I'm going to, Dr. John Markaway, an anthropologist with an interest in psychic phenomena, takes two specially selected women to Hill House, a reportedly haunted mansion. Eleanor, Julie Harris, and a lonely, eccentric woman with a supernatural event in her path, and the bold Theodora, Claire Bloom, who has ESP, join John and the mansion's heir, cynical Luke Russ Tamblyn. They are immediately overwhelmed by strange sounds and events, and Eleanor comes to believe the house is alive and speaking directly to her. That was a great movie. Again, there's a remake with Liam Neeson. I like the original better. Yeah, don't say Beetlejuice 3 times, otherwise, other stuff will happen. All right. There's other movies. The Orphanage. Was a great movie with The Woman in Black. Yeah, 1408. 1408 was a great movie with John Cusack. He was a writer, and he wanted to stay at alleged haunted hotels or places that were alleged to, to be haunted. That was a great movie. What happened to that guy? He ended up staying in a room that they didn't want him to stay in because people didn't survive the night or something bad happened to them. So he insisted on staying. And, yeah, what the events that transpire after that kind of like, makes him hallucinate. These, his dead daughter comes back to life. When he finally gets out of there and gets real help from his girlfriend or ex-wife, basically he doesn't know if he's really out of there or not because he thinks he's still in the hotel. Yeah, that's a great movie, 1408. How about The Innkeepers? We forgot about The Innkeepers. That was a great movie about haunted inn. People would come and experience, a haunting in a haunted bed and breakfast. The Innkeepers was another great movie. Moving right along here on my list. Which Amityville Horror movie did you guys like better? Did you like the original or did you like the new one with Ryan Reynolds? I liked both. I do like Ryan Reynolds as an actor, But I do, again, I'm prone to the originals. Nothing beats the originals. Try to think here, what else? Here we go. Here's the Innkeepers. That was on my list. That came out in 2012. Yep. How about What Lies Beneath? That's another one of my wife's favorite movies. Yeah, What Lies Beneath with Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer. That was a great movie. Another really good idea or theory of ghosts. She marries this really well-known doctor. He's got a lot of money. They have a big old house, and they move in. Life is great, and all of a sudden, as soon as she starts living with him, she starts experiencing all this kind of paranormal activity in the home. She does a seance or kind of a Ouija board kind of thing with her friend. It stirs up a lot of stuff, and it turns out that her husband murdered his ex-girlfriend, and he covered it up as they found the body in the lake, and take it from there. What Lies Beneath is another great idea or theory of ghosts. Trying to think what else. The Legend of Hell House. The Legend of Hell House, the original in 1973, which is another great movie. Scientist Lionel Barrett and his wife Anne Gail Honeycutt led a team into the infamous Belasco House. And here I go. I'm mentioning something dark again, or something to do with hell, and my video is going haywire. What the frick? I don't know. That's kind of weird as doing that. I have no explanation. Yeah, there's nothing like original movies, guys. The old black and whites. The Legend of Hell House was a great movie. Looking at my list here. Did you guys ever see the movie House with William Katt? That was another great movie. I actually met William Katt at Chiller Theater. Yep, I know, guys. It's clearing up again. Just give it a minute or two. Seems to be coming and going. Yeah, the movie House had quite a few sequels to them. The first one had William Katt. I believe it came out in the 80s. I actually met him in person at a Comic-Con in New York City. Really cool guy. He also played in the really good TV series back in the day, Greatest American Hero. So the movie House was great. He was raised by his grandmother, where he lived as a little kid, and the house was haunted. I believe it made her go a little insane, and she hung herself or something like that. And he inherited the house. He was a writer, so he took the time to write his book. I believe he was like somebody that went to Vietnam, and he had post-traumatic stress from Vietnam that he was writing about. The Exorcism of Emily Rose is another great movie. I actually highly recommend The Exorcism of Emily Rose to a lot of investigators that want to do a lot of demonology and want to get heavily into exorcism, because it's actually based off of true events of what happened to a priest that took care of a young lady. It was based off of I don't remember her actual name, but she was a German girl that was allegedly possessed by a demon over in Germany, and there was a priest that took care of her, and I believe they held him accountable for her death, for incompetence and slew a whole other things, and neglect. and all that stuff. But I highly recommend the Exorcism Emily Rose is really a great piece of information, learning about the care and the responsibility that you have, not only by the church, but if you're going to be a demonologist or an exorcist, or get into that area of the field, watch that movie. It's great way of learning. Even though it's a movie, I actually like it a lot. I think it can provide a lot of great information. So yeah, that was a really good one, Josie. Yeah, The Fog. Yeah, The Fog was a great flick. That's one of my wife's favorites. It's about pirate ghosts that come back because the people that lived in the town started taking items that were washing up on shore from the sunken ships. They took them, and then the ghosts wanted to come back and get their stuff back. So they came back with a vengeance. Yeah, that was a good one. I didn't see a Ouija, believe it or not. I didn't really care to see a Ouija because I don't recommend people dwell into using the Ouija board myself. So I don't know. I guess one day I'll check it out. The Grudge was another great movie. That's very Hollywoodish though. Ghosts that come out of the TV or videotape and come and get you. I know they have a new one out too, The Grudge. They have a remake out. I'm not sure how good that one is. Alright, guys. I made a whole list of great movies with theories of ghosts in Hollywood movies. If you guys thought I missed any of them, Ron Lourdes and my wife are in the chat. They listed a whole bunch of great movies with ideas of ghosts. If I missed any, feel free to give me a shout out. Strange Oddities Podcast at gmail.com. Hope you guys enjoyed the topic. My podcast is going to be roughly around an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how things go. Things are going really well. I can run it a little longer, but roughly I like to try to keep them around an hour. It's every Thursday night at 8 p.m., guys. Like I said, you don't want to miss the announcements on the topics on our Facebook page, Strange Oddities Podcast on Facebook. Please subscribe to the show on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. Just click the little bell at the top right of the screen. You'll see a little bell. That'll help you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you could also, get in there that way. So, alright. I'm going to go ahead and end the show here, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the topic. And, I don't know. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying home. And I know it's been a crazy time for everybody. But I just want to take this little time to, tell everybody to keep hope alive and keep the faith. Be strong. And, we gotta be there together. I know it's hard. Everybody's got different situations. Everybody's getting cabin fever. Everybody's getting cabin fever a little bit, especially those who are not working. It's not fair to those who are, really struggling with the pandemic. Hopefully, things will start getting back to normal slowly. I don't think we can all jump right back into it. Right away. Unfortunately, I think we should, just kind of gradually hop into society again. Otherwise, we can have a big relapse. So, I want to, give a shout out to all my friends who are having a hard time with everything. If you guys need anybody, to be there for you, I'm here. Give me a shout out. Again, we're all struggling in different ways, and I want everybody to stay safe, be well, just do what you gotta do. And, I know it's tough. So, guys, love you all. And, be good. Have a great night. Enjoy the weekend. And be well, be safe. All right, guys, have a great night. Thanks for those who tuned in. And Thank you, Ron and Lourdes, my wife, for hanging out in the chat. Appreciate it, and we'll see you guys on the next show. All right, so for now, it's good night from Strange Oddities Podcast. Thank you. Good night.